Welcome, Wapham crew, guys, gals, ghouls, friends, fiends, foes, whoever may be out there beyond the omniverse listening tonight. Secure your tinfoil hats, buckle down tight, and hold on loosely as we soar over the rocky tops of the La Platas on a rocky mountain high, get sucked into the vortex of the Four Corners, and settle down snugly at mile marker 420 in colorful Colorado. It is Saturday, September 23rd. If you guys don't know, there's kind of like a portal going on right now. 2020 or 2323 sort of thing going on, but that's pretty intriguing. So, for those of you across the pond and beyond, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you, and welcome to We Are Paradox Media. I'm your host, Tessa TNT, and we are broadcasting live from the Mile High Clubhouse tonight. So glad you could join us on whichever forum you're listening from. If you want to join us live, you can find us on Facebook under We Are Paradox Media. You can also find us on YouTube under the same, as well as Twitch. We're also live for your listening ears at KPNL Radio, which you can find on KPNL Radio at kpnl-db.com, as well as eTalk Radio, which you can find on etalk.tv/radio, as well as Spreaker, and whatever venue you like to listen to your podcasts on, you can find us there under We Are Paradox Media. So tonight I have a treat for all my guys and gals out there. Tonight we will be talking to and getting to know Mr. Troy Bacon. So Troy is a lifelong contactee involved with a multi-species ET group, which he believes is here on a mission, helping to fulfill a positive agenda. In November of 2020, he had a walk-in experience which turned his life around and upside down, setting him on a journey of challenges, healing, and learning tough lessons. Tonight, we're going to be talking about, Rainbow Reiki, so many amazing different things. Also, if you want to find Troy, you can find him at www.newbeinghypnosis.com, as well as https://raisedup.ngo. He's doing so many amazing things out there in the world, and I'm so excited for you guys to get to meet him and learn more about him. Welcome, Troy.
Thank you, Tessa. It's good to be on with you.
I'm so excited because, I don't know, my day was kind of home gloom, and then you came on with all this positive energy and a big old smile on your face. So I'm super excited, and I'm feeling much better. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm glad that my energy can help at all. And yeah, I'm feeling quite good. I was part of an intuition practice circle online last night with the MIWI fairs, and I gave a bunch of psychic readings and Reiki healings, and received some various readings and healings too. So that was awesome. That's one of the reasons I'm feeling quite good, and I think that contributed to me waking up this morning in a half sleep kind of hypnotic state, in which I received some great clarity and pleasant light language downloads and clarity to start writing a book, my first nonfiction book, about light language. And I seem to get the suggestion or kind of prompt from Spirit that it will be a manual. So I'll see where that goes, but I'll try to write it as a manual with some of my experiences of channeling light language, which I've never heard anyone else describe what I do quite like what I do before.
Yeah, and it's amazing, like you said, like you gave and you received. And I think when you do positive and you put it out in the universe, it comes back to you tenfold. So I'm glad that happened.
Yeah, definitely. Reciprocity is important. I believe in healing, and the same goes for Reiki practice. When you give a healing, you also get a healing, not only through channeling the energy through you, but what you put out comes back to you. And it's quite a simple saying, but that's one of the actually most difficult but possibly most powerful lessons I've learned in my Reiki and healing spiritual journey, that I really need to manage my thoughts and beliefs pretty carefully. And it's really my thoughts and beliefs from some of the dark times in my past, remnants of them, and also many past life traumas and beheadings and murders and burnings and hangings and other stuff that was done to me, that has contributed to stuff that I didn't even realize I was running, programs of belief I was running that were blocking me. But now I'm really overcoming that at this juncture in my life. And I feel much lighter having overcome a lot of that and coming back into my own light and learning about the God within me.
That's awesome. So, in your past lives, it sounds like you could have been a witch or something. And it's funny that you talked about beheadings, because my son's like, did you know that after your heart starts or stops pumping, that your brain keeps going for about 7 minutes? And so I had to bring up beheadings, like when people would go under the guillotine and they could still see things and hear things around them. Like, to me, that's pretty amazing. But he's like, no way.
Yeah, quite fortunately, I don't remember the part of being alive or aware after my head was removed. But yeah, that was just in my subconscious from at least 2 lifetimes I've had remembrance and reconnection with, in which my psychic powers were just so strong and acute that they scared people and threatened, or other people felt threatened. I didn't threaten anyone, but yeah, like a neighboring tribe in the Grand Canyon beheaded me, and then some others in Lemuria. I don't know how long ago, probably tens of thousands of years ago, if not hundreds of thousands of years ago, when I was in Lemuria. In one lifetime, I learned that my physical eyeballs were like mostly blind, but I could still see perfectly well because my third eye was so acutely awakened that I could just see and sense everything around me. I haven't quite recovered that yet in this lifetime, but I don't think I need it because my eyeballs are still working okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that happens with a lot of light workers, and especially interstellar starseed souls who have so much light and power and energy from other star systems and planets that when they incarnate, especially on Earth, also other planets too, but the darkness just gets to them, often destroys them in certain lifetimes, and that stays with a soul. And so that's why I have learned hypnotherapy and Reiki. They both work pretty well, though really most of what I do that I'm doing now is kind of what I used to do in other lifetimes. I've recovered my abilities, and it's more along the lines of Reiki. When I am working with a person sending Reiki, I also tune into them, and especially if it's a past life blockage or really anything else, or even in their past, I pick up on what needs to be healed, or even just in the present moment. Anyway, I tend to give a psychic reading too, or just psychically read, and then even if it's by distance, I don't know if this is known or talked about by other people, but I think there should be a clair skill called something like psychic distance. I'll have to figure out a name for that, but I seem to be able to, I don't think it's remote or astral projection. It's more like remote accessing. I feel that I do to tune into a person, their energy body and everything that's needed and going on. And even in their past lives, I remotely access that. And sense and see and feel and hear things, and especially get messages from my guides of what they need. But yeah, that's a big part of my process. Mostly Reiki, but I can also incorporate the hypnotherapy that I've learned with suggestions if needed.
So do you feel like our past lives and the trauma we've gone through, and some people call it like family curses and such, do you think that really impacts people without them even knowing about it?
Um, yes, I I'm mostly of the light, and I don't do anything with, or I don't cast curses or anything like that. But um, I have undone what may have been curses on me, and people have helped me undo curses, so I have some experience with that. Um, Certainly, I've fought a lot of demons, but yeah, definitely, there are many forms of magic, and one baseline thing that I've learned, especially for healing, is that we're not a constant, or at least our bodies mostly are not a constant thing. It's mostly an illusion because of the constant change that's happening with our biological bodies, with our cells, all of them constantly reproducing, replicating, and then a lot of them being discharged every day or falling off the skin and such. And
some green
um,
paint.
Tessa, did you just say something?
No, my daughter did.
Oh,
She needs some
okay.
paint. I think she's doing a craft. I'm sorry.
I thought for a moment that was a ghost or something tuning in.
Luckily, it wasn't. I did have a doppelganger show up. I think it was the week before last, and it was weird because I went out to get the kids' clothes ready on Sunday, and I also grabbed a snack because I don't really eat earlier in the day, but late at night I do. And my husband gave me the funniest look, like I did something wrong, and I was like, "What's going on? I didn't do anything." He's like, "How did you do that?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And he actually saw my doppelganger come into my office, and I was out in the living room taking care of business. So that was weird.
Yeah, and like,
Yeah.
I went to go get my clothes this morning. He said that I was sitting on the couch when he passed, but when he passed, I was in the other room getting my clothes.
Yeah, there's weird stuff going on. I don't know if it's because we're getting closer to, Halloween where the veil is the thinnest or what. I don't know if that's why stuff
possible.
is starting to pop
Perhaps
off.
we can talk later about that. But yeah, I've dealt with some doppelgangers. It's actually been a little bit since I've had to deal with one, but unfortunately they happen, and they're kind of like darker spirits, I believe. Normally they're spirits. Sometimes evil aliens or nefarious aliens even impersonate people and do stuff like that. But even with nefarious aliens, I've learned that we can overpower them just with our wills. And because we are living here in our world on this planet, even though they're living here too, really, a lot of them are within the earth. But yeah, we have powerful wills, and we can use our wills to claim our home space. That's something I've learned and done. And I could even share a little trick, or kind of might even be considered witchy tool, that my guides taught me to do for my home space. I live in actually a pretty old building that was, I think it's over 80 years old, but it was built as military barracks. And then after I think it was after World War II, when the military didn't need these buildings anymore, they were then turned into apartments. And so there's actually quite a few deceased spirits and soldiers and other, even various other deceased people, spirits that have lived
The
here.
lights are confusing.
So,
You know why?
some just live here all the time and are peaceful, but
because I thought it
yeah,
was a
so
green and a black.
there was actually a time
I thought it was a green
last
and
year
black.
mostly for months
There's the green.
when things were getting moved in our apartment, and yeah, like sometimes I'd be home, and usually it was not when either of us were home, my wife or I. Sometimes it'd be when we even go out for a walk with the dog, or go out to work and come back, or even go out on maybe a road trip or a little trip somewhere. But things would get moved. She didn't seem to talk about it as much, but I definitely noticed it. And some things were moved in very uncanny, almost impossible ways. Our dog wasn't able to have done some of the things. But yeah, sometimes I would set down an object, or I would just know how things were placed. And then I would come back a little while later and they were just moved. Some things were like moved in the middle of the floor. One thing was moved off of kind of a higher radiator heater on the wall down to one of my altars, which my dog could not have done without messing stuff up, and nothing else was messed up. And so I eventually learned to cast my own protection around my home space, especially with Reiki. After I started casting protection with Reiki almost a year ago, then the object stopped moving, and it really works. I'm just about to start teaching Reiki pretty soon after I finish my master teacher certification. And so the trick that I do is I bought a bunch of little black tourmaline pieces and put one in each corner of each room. And so it creates like a grid with the tourmaline around the corners of the room. And every time I cast protection, I energetically connect with the tourmaline pieces and cast Reiki to them. I charge them first before I put them out too, but they just sit there, and they're like the pillars of the space now. And just by doing that, that creates a grid. When you cast protection every day or regularly, that reinforces that. But also just imagining a box of light really around the walls of your home space, or even a large sphere of light, doing that every single day, casting that with your will and energy. And also not just a sphere of light that I do, but I ground the capsule of light around my home to the earth itself. So then it's also just connected and grounded to the earth. So that works. Yeah. Magic works. For healing too, the point I was getting around to earlier is that our cellular bodies are constantly in flux. That doesn't stop until our last breath. And because of that, we can change our health and change our conditions, remove and relieve pain, and even see relief for other serious, seemingly permanent physical diseases and conditions. Even cancer has been helped by Reiki, and other issues. There's a lot of medical research into it these days. But the way that works is that you just insert the healing, even with hypnotherapy. That's how that works too, is inserting a different program, changing the program that's in the subconscious so that the body then receives a different program. It literally is very similar to our computers, and how the computer has its physical structure, but then we can download all these different apps and programs to do different things. And the body works very similarly, because the body's constantly healing, or constantly listening really to the programs we give it. So if we're constantly in a low, depressed emotional state, then that's going to show up in the body. It's a guarantee. There's no arguing about that. And each part of the body also corresponds to a particular type of chronic emotion or emotion. Even more short term, I tend to get headaches still when I fall into patterns of worry, especially about money and resources or outcomes, things like that. If that's just constantly going on, or if I'm not in a more positive state of making good decisions for myself and executive functions in my life, then that can manifest as headaches too, if I'm just not taking charge of my own thoughts. So that's really the importance of healing practices like Reiki and hypnotherapy, is changing the energy patterns and subconscious program patterns that then in turn change the body. Every single thought that we think is powerful, every single thought is something, some sort of energy or electricity even, but also quantum and metaphysical energy too, that every single thought and belief we have is like a signal that we're sending out into the quantum ocean we live in and the spirit world too. And that's how the law of attraction works in essence, is what we believe and what we think and ask for. Same with prayer and intention. When you do it right and do it clearly, then that is just sending out basically a signal or purchase order to the universe, and you receive what you're in resonance with.
So yeah, I agree with you with like what you were saying as far as our thoughts are a powerful thing. And I used to know an elder, I'll call him, in the church back, man, it was like over 20 years ago. I used to talk about that a lot, as far as like your mind is very powerful and your thoughts are a powerful thing, and you can actually manifest things by having certain thoughts, or things can happen in your life due to that as well. And like you were talking about with cancer, if you have, different negative thoughts, you're in depression, or negative things are happening, like that can be stored in your body if you don't get rid of it correctly.
Yes, definitely. And that's, you were asking earlier about like family curses or things like that. Also family diseases and hereditary things. There's one of the master symbols in Reiki that I learned recently that is said to relieve, I'm not a medical doctor, so I shouldn't use the word cure legally, but that does happen still. But yeah, there's one of the master symbols that's said to relieve physiological diseases that are hereditary, and syndromes too. They're inherited. And that's possible. And so, yeah, it's also the hereditary things that some are. I'm still trying to understand exactly how this works in my own way, metaphysically and physically, but of course there's the physical genes and DNA that mostly is programmed, but some of it does seem to at times, one parent has like one marker for a disease, and then if they happen to reproduce with the other parent or another person, then with that, like basically the other corresponding marker for that disease, then that tends to manifest in a child and their offspring. And so that is that. But that still has an energy component too. And somewhere back in the ancestral line, there must have been something that started that. Some of its fears, some of its phobias, some of its intense trauma that could have happened to an ancestor, possibly due to war, even maybe losing a child, an ancestor losing a child might have caused a pattern at some point of then one of their daughters not being able to conceive of a child or something like that. There's so much trauma that can happen to ancestors that then does stay as a program in the genes, because our DNA is proven to be a quantum crystalline substance that, for example, one scientific experiment that I heard of years ago is that if you put a strand of DNA or a little bit of DNA in like an isolated, I think it was an isolated room or capsule, and expose it to light, then remove the DNA, then the same structure and form of that DNA will still stay in that field of light, still remain. So yeah, DNA has been proven to be quantum. I don't remember the guy's name, but there was also one other author I heard of, I think it was on Coast to Coast some years ago. I think he wrote a book. I wish I knew the author, but he said something interesting about, I think it was actually proven that this happens at the point of conception, especially for humans, but I'm sure there are animals too, is that when an egg is fertilized by a sperm, then there's like a flash of light that happens instantaneously. And so if that's true, I would imagine that is, then what kinds of information and maybe even color frequencies and quantum information might actually be encoded in that field or that flash of light that could also affect the then fertilized egg and its programs. And so that's kind of, it all goes together, but that's also how our bodies get programmed, also through media and just teachings, school, and every bit of information that we're taught through our mind and subconscious gets programmed into the cellular structure and programs. And then it's really just emotions and mind and light and energy that does change and heal people. And that's why this field of what's called alternative or holistic or metaphysical has become so popular and actually very well scientifically studied in many areas too, to be viable forms of medicine for diseases without chemicals. And that's a bit of my understanding anyway about how things work. My dad is a machinist, and some of his ancestors were also kind of mechanical types in different ways. And so I just have a brain too that is apt to to understanding things in an engineering type of a way. One friend dubbed me the ethereal engineer, and I like that
That's
title,
awesome.
though I don't say that all the time.
Yeah, it's a pretty awesome title to be given.
Yeah, I think so. And I know I'm not the only one. There are a lot of ethereal engineer types, but yeah, I do consider what I do with people also ethereal engineering, patching up programs and trauma, um, changing energy patterns, and yeah, just and then also reinforcing and charging and activating other positive energy programs that then they can live a positive, happy, productive, meaningful life with. That's one thing I do, and one disclaimer of my services too is it often comes with an activation, especially with Reiki energy activation for activating more of your soul's purpose and embodying your unique mission that you chose to incarnate here with and fulfill.
Do you believe in the soul contract? One of the things that I learned early in life due to going to church was we see the life that we're going to live. It's presented before us, and we have the option to go in or not. And we sign a soul contract. Do you think that's a real thing?
Yes, I do. By the way, what kind of church was that? Because that's normal church teaching. I've heard.
Yeah, that's LDS. So the Church
Okay,
of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, aka Mormons.
I see. Yeah, that's a core principle of my teaching and my practice too. Is yeah, I work with soul contracts, and I've just known for a long time through past life regression and memory, and just known that indeed we do agree on these soul contracts and write them ourselves too, partly before we enter into these physiological bodies. And that's just a part of, I think, God and the universe and the gods within us, or the God energy within us, as metaphysically and philosophically, however you want to call it, we are children and creations of God, whatever the creator of the universe is, that's constantly creating and created these universes. I've become aware of primordial beings. Even last night, I did a Reiki healing and reading for a client who I'd never seen this before, but I went back to their first incarnation in a completely different universe, different galaxy. And before that, even, I could see, and I read that they were a primordial organizer of the universe. Very interesting. Such gigantic beings, really, those primordial organizers. Yeah, that's soul contract, and really, there's no accidents. One of the things that I teach, that I will be teaching in my Reiki classes, is that people may disagree with me, but this is what I've learned and what I believe, is that you're never a victim, but a participant. And of course, there's all kinds of other free wills, other beings who do stuff to us, who want to do different things that are not what we want to do. But we choose to participate or have the power to choose to participate when we learn that. Even the programs that people are constantly running from past lives and even this life or whatever, that is participation by continuing that participation in that energy program and participating in a certain circumstance or outcome. If you believe that people are always going to be mean to you, or if you believe that nobody loves you, or always be rejected, or my ring light keeps turning off. That's okay. It's not really very important.
You still look good.
Yeah, thank you. Anyway, yeah, we participate, and we can choose to not participate in the things that we don't like. If we get involved with maybe a circle of dramatic friends, or even a dramatic friend, or if we get involved with a bad company or something, then we always have the free will to choose something else, to leave, to start something else, start anew that's more in alignment with what we want at the time. Yeah. Also, with soul contracts in hypnosis, I have learned to guide people into their what I call the Chamber of Contracts within their Akashic Record library. And from there, I can help them read certain contracts, learn from them, even destroy some old contracts that are no longer relevant, especially past
So from
life
like past
contracts can
lives
often
or
be
something?
destroyed. Yeah, because they're not the contract that we agreed to for this incarnation, unless
Yeah,
it
that's
is some
from
other,
like way back in the day.
maybe,
Like, let's get rid of it. That's
yeah,
cool that you do that.
unless sometimes it's karma or something we still want to maybe change or do something else within this lifetime. Sometimes present life contracts can't be destroyed until there's no more, or until they're fulfilled, basically. With past life contracts, I've found that it's easier to destroy and rewrite them. And so that's awesome to be able to tear off your signature from a contract.
Yeah, get rid of that. I already did that.
Burn
That
the
was last
contract.
life or 3 lives ago.
Yeah. And then what I've guided people to do too is just lay out a whole new blank contract and set their own terms.
That's awesome.
And so
I didn't even know that was possible. I thought it was just like written. You're like, all right, sign your life here or your soul here or whatever it may be. I thought it was already written up. I didn't know that you actually can delegate and make it a certain way. I wish I would have known that. I would have changed a lot of things.
Yeah. That's awesome to be able to do, and then see changes within yourself and your life and create changes too. One thing too is I also often work with angels and guides. That's kind of essential for contracts, because
how do you do that?
How do I do that?
Yeah, that's amazing. Because angels are generally like, oh, you're human, you're below me, whatever. I know they look out for us and we have watchers and all the other stuff, but I didn't know that we could interact with them.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, we can interact with angels, especially like in a hypnotic state. Every single one of us, because we choose to incarnate here in a body, we don't just incarnate and then we're kind of set free and like free range fish in the ocean with nothing to protect us or anything. We all have our energetic spiritual protectors, angels, guardian angels, spirit animals around us, and ancestors too. And yeah, I work with all of those and other spirits within hypnosis, and it's different for everyone. But yeah, angels are kind of essential. Really, I think from the very first hypnotism I did a couple years ago. I believe it was Archangel Michael was present first, but they've always been there. I pretty much don't do Reiki or hypnosis without some sort of guides or beings showing up to assist and cast protection, or just bring in messages too and healing energies that someone needs. Angels help with soul contracts, and that's awesome when they do that. Angelic energy is something to get used to. It's not so easy for me, and I think a lot of other people. But I found that we're not just always in tune with angel energy, but they're there when we listen and when we want guidance and pray and ask for things. And yeah, it's really kind of a common, could be called mistake, or just kind of just something people don't do. I don't like to say that everyone makes mistakes or that everyone's doing this, but most people just aren't aware that they can reach out and ask for assistance and guidance and inspiration. And even if they don't see or hear or get confirmation right away at that moment, then it helps. And I've done that. Even if you just like go out at night and sit under the stars and voice your intentions and wishes and what you need, and especially when you say why, the purpose of what you need something for, like a certain amount of money for, or need to be able to get to somewhere for an event, or need to be able to do and have this and that for a good purpose, then that is, I found, an essential kind of key or element to Spirit giving us and helping us achieve things and get things when it's for a purpose, especially for a greater purpose that's more than yourself, and helping others.
Yes, I think helping others is very important. And I don't know, I think we're going through a trial during this life, and I think we're pretty close to the end. And people have been talking about the end since the beginning of time, but I don't know, I've had different dreams and visions and such, and I do believe like we're right there on the cusp. And I don't know, even my dreams recently have been super chaotic. One of them recently was I saw these white things coming out of the sky, and I was like, what is that? And it was parachuters. And it was people coming down to assassinate us. Like, they were just coming through to kill us. And I'm like, holy shnikes, I hope this doesn't happen. And it was weird, too, because, like, instead of being in my present life, it was in my past, because my child was a baby. So it was me and my baby trying to hide from these guys. But yeah, that was scary. I didn't like it. I don't like those dreams, and I wish I didn't remember them, but those are the dreams that I do remember. Like the good ones, they just kind of wash away, but the bad ones tend to stick with you.
Yeah, dreams just like that are actually something I've helped some clients work with and change in hypnosis and Reiki and angel healing. My healing sessions, it kind of all goes together. But yeah, your dreams are primarily a reflection of your beliefs and thoughts and worries and concerns and things within you. Some dreams definitely can be psychic and precognitive viewings of the future. Although from my education and experience, that's not so common for everyone, unless you do have some psychic skills awakened or something like that. That's part of just one of your psychic abilities is precognition, but yeah, that's something that I've hoped change in people is their dreams, and I've noticed my dreams have changed over time depending on the things I'm going through, the schoolings, the beliefs I have running, and the practices I do every day too. Practices are important, I believe, whatever it is, especially gratitude. Journaling and practice is one of my things that I do. Every day I like to write down at least 3 things that I'm grateful for. And that's something that
Awesome.
my higher self taught me too, very early on after my walk-in, is that gratitude is a powerful force. And truly, I have noticed that when I practice gratitude journaling and also just practice being grateful throughout the day, that helps positive energy and positive things and outcomes and resources come to me. And it just reinforces what you have, really. By reinforcing and acknowledging and being grateful for what you have, then more comes to you. Next steps, next bits of maybe greater income, or next bits of growth, and whatever is in alignment with what you're really aligning with and what you're resonating with, then can show up for you. And also, soul contracts can be a part of that too, what you've agreed to. I believe that soul contracts can actually be a factor in socioeconomic status, and we can change that too with subconscious and beliefs and all this stuff too that we're doing, and changing our income and
That'd be
changing
great.
our energy constantly. It really is just, Earth is an energy school, one of the greatest spiritual schools, I think, to learn from. Although I think a lot of other planets are great schools to learn from, but yeah, all of life really is just a school.
To me, it's intriguing. That's another thing I learned. Kind of fell away from the church as a teenager because I have insomnia, I always have, and my husband doesn't understand it, but it stemmed from having paranormal experiences and just like staying awake because something was going to happen. And it didn't always, but sometimes it did, but it just kind of triggered me that way. And but going back to journaling, I used to journal. And then that's why I joined the military. I was in this relationship that was very abusive, and he actually went through my journals and read them and used them against me. So I haven't journaled since, but I think it's a very healthy thing to do. Like you're saying, like put down 4 things you're thankful for or whatnot. And I think that could put forward like a positive precedence. But yeah, I'm just like PTSD, like I have trauma from that, and I haven't done it since. And my daughter, she keeps buying journals, but she doesn't really write in them. She just like selects them. But I think it is a very positive thing to do. So I'm so grateful that you brought that up, because for a lot of people, they don't even know about it. Like for me, growing up, that was part of my LDS teaching, was to retain, historical documents, like write down the day in the life of you or whatnot. But when people use it against you, like that's ridiculous. Like I don't think anybody should be reading your journal unless you've passed and it's your lineage, and that's a different thing. But for some a-hole like that to do it, like that was redonkulous.
Yeah, journaling can definitely be a spiritual practice of its own. Just a little bit of journaling every night or every day, every evening, I find is my practice that works to just reflect on what happened during the day, reflect on like the intentions you said and the spells or energy or whatever you cast and stuff, or even a choice you make, whatever you do, and then writing about the outcomes too. writing about maybe a miracle that happens during the day. That helps, because if you don't journal, and especially if you're on this path of inner cultivation, self-transformation, magic, healing, and all this stuff, then some of what you're doing honestly just goes to waste and like becomes water under the bridge, because it's not being actually processed. And some of it does help, and definitely I've grown and advanced in my practices and energy over time. But yeah, journaling helps. Getting back into journaling, especially during this multi-planet retrograde season we're in, it's good to reflect and return to positive and more contemplative practices. But yeah, journaling
Was your dog?
helps.
Did your dog come in or what? Saw you look down. Was that your dog or what happened?
Oh, no, I'm just looking at where my journal is.
Oh, okay.
Also, I was recommended to get back into journaling, especially as a magical and spiritual practice, from this book that I've been reading off and on, Kabbalah Magic. And
Oh, wow.
by journaling, trying to get it without a glare, in this type of system of Kabbalah and the Golden Dawn, they say that by journaling, also in HMI they do, in my hypnotherapy college, they taught therapeutic journaling. And yeah, it can be a practice of just reflecting. And also within your journal, I've found that it can be a powerful practice just to write down your intentions. One
And
thing
like you
about
said, like what
managing
you
your
go
thoughts and
through,
beliefs
I
and
think
intentions.
if you do that, like
Yeah,
it can pass. Otherwise, you kind of hang on to it.
yeah. Yeah, it helps to process emotions and process things. It can be therapeutic. One thing about managing thoughts and emotions and intentions is that it's best to not be telling people about your plans
Mm-hmm.
and your projects before you actually create something, and before you have results to show. Because if you're telling people about, and this goes too for negative situations, like if you're low on money, if people are being unfair to you, if you feel that the economy is down the sewer, and various other things, and if you're just constantly talking about your problems, then that reinforces them, especially with other people. I
I think
shared
it
a
causes more
meme on
problems to
Facebook recently.
manifest.
It does. I shared a meme on Facebook recently that's very true. Maybe one of the most true memes I've ever seen, that had a scene from Egyptian gods, but it said that when two or more people focus on the same thought, then it becomes real.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you're telling your friends and family and people, even if you're venting and stuff, when you're just talking about all the stuff in your mind, then that's reinforcing it, negative or positive.
Making it more powerful.
I've been down the dark rabbit hole, and I've seen that the things I talk about with people, and the problems I used to talk about, then just become reinforced and continue and continue and continue and don't stop. And then nothing really positive happens. Even when I try to do something a little bit more positive, then something happens to get in the way of it. Conversely, if you are more careful and you don't talk about your problems, and especially if you don't disclose all of your all of the details of your plans to people, then that just conserves your own energy. Your energy is powerful. Human energy is powerful in the spirit world and in all levels. And by conserving it, then you just have more to give to the projects and things you're working on and whatever you're doing in life, in the moment too. Really, life happens in the moment.
Well, Troy,
So
I
that's
think
kind
that's
of,
that's a good place for us to leave off because we do have to go to our first music break.
yeah. That's just what I was thinking too. So that's a bit about my paradigm and overview of some things. And yeah, that's some of my healing practice, hypnotherapy and Reiki with New Being Hypnosis. That's my business. newbeinghypnosis.com is my website, and people can email me or call me there. And by the way, I'll mention it or drop it in the next hour, but I'm giving a discount for donations for Raised Up, discounts on my healing services, just one-time discounts on sessions. And so if you want hypnotherapy or Reiki, I'll detail that in the next hour when I talk about my nonprofit Raised Up.
It'll be
So,
awesome. And I love all you're doing for people not only where we're at, but around the world because they really need our help. But on this music break, we have
yeah,
Mr. Hosni Bronx. He originates from Jamaica, but he also lives in the Bronx of New York, and I think that's where he gets his name. So he's going to be singing Strong Life as well as Dance as a Lion. And then we have King Cinnamon from Biafra, Nigeria with Ala Imo Ederella. You guys don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this music break.
Babylon no have no heart. Babylon no have no heart. My people, you have to survive. Yeah, you must rebuild you and make your own way. You must not give up. The beginning of the revolt will start. We need to follow our true destiny. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Yeah, 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 yeah. I don't know, whoa, why my people live this life. I don't know, whoa, why my people live this life. The obstacle we face, yeah, is Babylon. The world is a good place, yeah, for our freedom. You take everything, you don't breathe anything, yeah, yeah. Young life, all anti-dread. We must believe in a magical, powerful force that unite us, and not just these people stay speechless again. We don't want to talk, no, it's time to fight, yeah. We start talking. Babylon make you suffer. 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 What the desire? Young life. We are ready to fight.
We spoke on speak.
Ka anyị kelee Chineke makwa n'ala Imo bụ ndị njem ọnụ. Ka anyị kelee onye nwe ụwa ịmakwa n'ala Imo bụ ndị njem ọnụ. Imo, ala Imo ekerelo, ala Imo, ala Imo ekerelo, ala Imo steeti, ala Imo ekerelo, ala Imo, ala Imo ekerelo, ala Imo steeti, ala Imo ekerelo, ala Imo, ala Imo ekerelo. Democracy emeriela, ndị Imo emeriela, ala Imo, ala Imo ekerelo, ala Imo, ala Imo ekerelo, ala Imo steeti, ala Imo ekerelo, ala Imo, ala Imo ekerelo. Democracy emeriela, ndị Imo emeriela, Emeka mara mma, ebere mara mma, Ọbana mara mma, First Lady mara mma, Emeka ịdị ọha mma, Emeka ịdị ọha mma, omenka hụrụ anya n'ịdị ọha mma, omenka hụrụ anya wa, Emeka mee gị mmadụ mma, Emeka mee gị mmadụ mma, Emeka pụta n'ọgbọ, ụmụ ụwa wulie elu, Emeka pụta n'ọgbọ, ụmụ ụwa emewe mkpọtụ, Emeka mee gị mmadụ mma, Emeka mee gị mmadụ mma, ndị m jeje mba, nwa njeje mba, ndị m jemanụ, Deputy Governor Imo State chiri ike, Gerald Ronna gara aga, nwoke ọma dị mma kpọrọ akpọ, Deputy Governor were dịrị gị mma, Aluguda dịrị gị mma, ala Imo State dịrị gị mma, ala Nigeria mara gị mma, onye jemanụ, Sir Stanley Nwamuche gara aga, onye Babamba, President Good Life Foundation chiri ike, President General, Senate Group of Companies, President General, financial matter karaka. Alo were dere gima, Alambise dere gima, Alimo State dere gima, Ala Nigeria mara gima, Oyo Jemono, Frankie Neji Shiriko, Pepe Arabido Hotels, ABC Transport Karaka. Alo were dere gima, Alambise dere gima, Alimo State dere gima, Ala Nigeria mara gima, Uchonya go chande. Uchonya go chande, Honorable Mokoma Dima, Onye Horo Nakeleli Yao, Mawugi, Ginando to Gio, Mawunule, Jigari Jinala, Imo State, yo, Mawugi, Ginando to Gio, Mawunule, Miligari Zonala, Imo State, Alo were dere gima, Alo were dere gima, Alimo State dere gima, Ala Nigeria mara gima, the German Orange Drugs Limited, Jisa Anthony Ifani Chukun business and na Ishirike, Ikenga di Chele, pride of his people, most outstanding one, Okoma Marama, Iborabo, Alo were dere gima, Alija to dere gima, Alimo State dere gima, Ala Nigeria mara gima, Honorable Jogwagu Shirike, Honorable Bina Shirike, Jere Labosa Shirike, Tochukwa Kereke Shirike, Okahu Be Shirike, Intina Beninaji Shirike, Onyamana Construction, Woko Madema Ikaraka, Onya Shiwore Heborani, Dejemu Imarama, Wokoma Dejemba, Wokoma Dema Ikaraka, Wiz Popule, Ibo Felamo, Onyamana Pito, Akana Kumpa, Ikaraka, Eziwa Mama, Mr. Ludwiriwa, Wokome Dejemba, CEO Elizabeth Ventures, Ikaraka, Democracy Merielo, Ndime Merielo. Democracy Merielo, Ndime Merielo, Alime Gerelo, Alime Gerelo. Thank God I'm from Imo State. Emeka has come to rejuvenate Imo State, make you jubilate, make you celebrate. Emeka Shikwen be say, this one no be say them say. Emeka has come to rejuvenate Imo State, celebrate, make you jubilate. Ala mekele His Excellency Achikudenwa, mekele kwa His Excellency Dr. Hakim. Kemaka Right Honorable Bideke, mekele kwa Right Honorable Jones Oyereri. Ala mekele Senator Onyebuchi Mr. Empowerment. Mekele kwa Right Honorable Emeka Chinedu. Umo mimo lowali bia meziena Alima Adilama.
Cliffito.
Why Babylon, you want our
Welcome back, and thank you so much for joining me this evening on We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. Tonight we have Mr. Troy Bacon, and he's got a couple websites that you can look him up on. Let me pull it up really quick. So, New Being Hypnosis, which is at www.newbeinghypnosis.com, as well as raisedup.ngo. So you guys, please go over there and check those out. He's doing some really good things around the world. Welcome back, Troy.
Thank you, Tessa. Yes, in the last hour, mostly about my healing services of Reiki and hypnotherapy. With New Being Hypnosis. By the way, now I do have my dog on my lap this time, so
She's so
petting her
cute.
if you're curious. She is. I'll hold her up for the camera if anyone wants to see her.
She came from Mexico, right? Look at that lovely little
She's a sweetheart.
being. Aw. She's
She
so
did.
cute.
She's part Chihuahua. Yeah, her name is Lavender. Yeah, a few weeks ago, she actually kissed a bumblebee on a flower with her nose. She's just a real sweetheart all around and
Aw.
very gentle. She chases the bunny rabbits around here, but I don't think that she could actually ever hunt one. She's just too gentle and sweet.
Yeah, I don't think she would.
So anyway, I was talking about my my healing services last hour, and I've been on an interesting journey in life. I do hypnotherapy and Reiki, and that's one part of my life. One reason why I'm here as a walk-in is to offer that service and healing for people. Bring people energy healing and inner mental and emotional healing and activation too, and all of that. That's part of my mission. Another thing that transpired, now I have a nonprofit that I started, and so I'm building that up. I'm actually looking for volunteers if anyone wants to, or it's called The Volunteer. The nonprofit is called Raised Up, and I started it in June officially as a nonprofit. Before that, I was just doing small-scale fundraising through GoFundMe, but that doesn't get nearly enough for what is actually needed for the dozens, or dozen at least, orphanage leaders now I'm in touch with. I'm especially trying to help the Reality Orphanage first, because that was my first orphanage I was in touch with. The founder, by the way, is named Kasango Samuel. He was on with us, several months ago when I was on with you last. But he has kind of poor
Reception.
internet connection in Uganda. Yeah. So the connection there isn't reliable for a show like this. Anyway, he reached out to me on Facebook, and honestly, at first, my first thought was that he might be another scammer or someone trying to offer me things in Africa that I wasn't sure of. But he didn't actually offer me anything or try to ask me for anything at first. We were just friends for a bit, and then we started messaging, and he started telling me about the problems in Uganda, and I had no idea about any of it before then, but abortion is illegal there, and that causes young girls who get pregnant as teenagers to either carry it to term and orphan their child, or even do dangerous abortions at times. But there's an orphan problem in Uganda because the corrupt, I guess the president, but the corrupt leader of Uganda does not want to support orphanages. Or actually, just last night, one of my friends over there was saying that the economy is getting worse, and that the president is just doing horrible stuff to make it difficult for people to live in Uganda. Really similar to America, though.
Yeah, I was about to say, like,
they-
we're going through the
yeah.
same thing, but they have it much
Yeah.
worse.
They do. They definitely do. The orphans and the orphanages, and a lot of people in Uganda just have it a lot worse. Some of them go days without eating food because they don't have money. My friend Kasengo just last night posted a video on my group, Free Public Facebook group, Raised Up Donors and Friends. It was another video of him going into town. It's like the second video yet that he's done, but he was giving like a tray of food. It looked like a microwave tray of food or something like that to a young kid sitting on a looked like a freeway
It was like a
overpass
bridge. Yeah.
Yeah, a homeless child. He runs his own orphanage with like 40 orphans now. Started at like, I think 4 or 5 or so orphans, just a few at first. And he doesn't have the facilities to house all these 40 orphans. They don't even have beds, each of them. A lot of them sleep on the floor. Some of them
Yeah, and I saw the
share
mats that they
a
were
few
like
of the
carrying
couches or
around. I
beds
was
that they
like,
have.
yeah, they're pretty dirty.
Yeah.
And it's just like, could you imagine trying to sleep on that? And I imagine it's much better than sleeping on the dirt or the ground or whatever, but still, it's like, man, I wish these kids had something
Yeah,
better.
I don't know how old those pads and mattresses are that they sleep on, but they're really gross looking.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of them or some of them share those, the few of them that can fit on those, they're constantly spreading colds and flus, mostly
Mhm.
colds, I think, but sometimes other more serious diseases. And yeah, that's one project actually that is posted on Raised Up to raise over like $4,000 that they need to buy metal bunk beds that will last a long time, and new mattresses and sheets for each of them, just at that one orphanage. And so, yeah, anybody who can donate to any of the projects on Raised Up is very much appreciated.
And
even
if
like
you
a
do go to
10, 20
donate,
or
you can go to Sendwave. That's what I'm using right now. It's uploading at the moment, but yeah, last time I couldn't afford to do it, but this time I can. But yeah, I try to help when I can. Recipient name would be Yogero Agnes. So it's Bygero Agnes. And the number is 256-781-540-536.
yeah, that is the bank account that Kasengo Samuel uses to fund his orphanage, basically. That's a secure donation. There's a few different options on his website that I send it to from donations on Raised Up. There's Remitly. There's Sendwave. I think there's one or two others. They're very secure and simple too. If you want to go to his website, which
It's the most recent thing. Like, I didn't know about the bunk beds and stuff, but I heard about that little girl that has like a cancerous thing growing on her lip, and he's having a lot of difficulties with that. So far as I heard, like, it's really painful and such. It's like a mouth cancer, but right on her front lip.
Yeah, that's one project that I think I just posted on Raised Up for a girl named Annette. She's only 6 years old. It looks like a regular lip deformity, but it's actually
I thought it was like cleft palate or something at first, but then I heard it was cancer. I'm like, man, and I hate that. And it's like what you were talking about earlier, like these different things that we store in ourselves, or if two parents get together and they have the same genomes or whatnot for cancer, that could be passed to their kids. Like, I don't think any kid should have to go through cancer, but it is happening. And you
Yeah,
just shared a link for, okay, so if you guys want to go and check it out, it's Reality Orphanage, May, Uganda,
now
UGEU.
you,
Hmm?
yeah, I sent it to Tessa. She can forward the link. Their website is Reality Orphanage Mayuge, Uganda. Looks like -8.webnode.page. That's their website to donate directly to, but Raised Up will get your donation to them. And yeah, Annette is a young 6-year-old girl. It's a tumor apparently on her upper lip that's just growing each day and causing her increasing pain each day. She can't go to school. She can't do normal tasks. She doesn't play because of it. She's crying every day because of the pain. She has trouble eating and drinking water even. She needs assistance with that. And yeah, it's just a really unfortunate tumor that she needs treated. And so the fundraiser on Raised Up is $1,700 that they need total for the surgery and hospital stay. But the doctors can start operating at just $600 US dollars converted into Uganda shillings. Anyway, yeah, if anyone can donate to that, that would be great. By the way, I'm offering a special right now for my healing services too, that a $50 donation will get you 20% off one of my Reiki or hypnotherapy sessions. And the code for that is all caps Raised Up 20 on newbeinghypnosis.com. The other code is, I believe, 50% off. Yeah, 50% off any healing service. It's $111 an hour, so 50% off of that is like $55 an hour. And that code is all caps Raised Up 50, and that code can be entered in at checkout on Raised Up or New Being Hypnosis. And yeah, anybody who donates $100 will get 50% off a healing session, which is honestly already a pretty low rate. I try to keep my rates a bit lower for most people to be able to afford them, but also for this trade, similar to what I was mentioning last hour, with Reiki especially, it's best done with a trade. The energy exchange is best done with a trade so that you get a more complete energy exchange, and then there's the monetary exchange. That's the reason for that, metaphysically. Yeah, Annette is one little girl. She's actually not orphan at Reality Orphanage. She's one of
It's
the
like a friend.
6 daughters of a single mother in, I believe it's called Bamboina village in Mayuge district, Uganda. And yeah, Kasenga just wants to get her surgery though, so that her pain can
Definitely.
stop.
I love that guy. And I even saw a video that he did where he was downtown and he went up into a park where a lot of homeless people sleep or whatnot. And he was just kind of laying there, and it looked like the guy just like got in his bag and, took his food or whatever. But he was like, no, brother, have it, because he's spreading it
Yeah.
everywhere. Like, even though they're hurting and they don't have very much funds or anything like that, he's willing to go out into the community and help people, just like this little girl.
Yeah, he does. That's one thing I appreciate about him, is that he's honestly a very sweet soul.
Mhm.
Karmically, one of the reasons that Kasengo found me and that we're in touch is because we've actually lived lifetimes together before
I think we
Um,
have.
in Africa. I don't know that it was all in Uganda or where Uganda is now, but yeah, we've lived before. He helped me in past lifetimes, and so I'm helping him out of goodwill, and so I'm doing this, and they need it anyway. Yeah, he's just very sweet and saintly. He doesn't even
Yeah.
ask for anything in return. He just wants to see that the children he's made this orphanage for get
Survive and
care
thrive.
and a home. Yeah, he created this orphanage, kind of a small orphanage still, but an orphanage for them to have a home. Otherwise, a lot of
Well,
them
and you
were
even did a fundraiser to help
homeless.
them with their water, right? Because their water was very yucky and not good. And you were able to do a fundraiser and raise money for that, correct?
I did, yeah, in April of this year. Yeah, one thing that we were able to do successfully with, it's actually before I started Raised Up as a nonprofit, but with a fundraiser, I raised 1,000 US dollars that was able to, it's actually partly installed, or the installation was going to be started, but it finished the installation of a clean water tap system. I think it's well water system
Mhm.
that was installed at the reality orphanage, so that they can at least have clean water. And I'm very grateful that we were able to do that. I have those photos posted on Raised Up, and also on the Raised Up Donors and Friends Facebook group. Also, there's a Raised Up Facebook page that I post developments and fundraising announcements on. So yeah, that's something people can like on Facebook for Raised Up. The icon for Raised Up is an elephant.
Oh, for me, it's,
It shows that.
oh yeah, that's an elephant. Sendwave is a penguin. So we have different animals going
Oh,
on.
yeah. Yeah, that's Sendwave, but the logo for Raised Up is an elephant. If anyone wants to look for that. I chose that because elephants are often happy-looking creatures.
Mhm.
They're very
love that.
strong and tall and resilient. And spiritually, they also represent removal of obstacles. A lot of people also consider them to be the creator of their obstacles, but can remove them. And so I'm chose that symbolism to embody or to manifest the removal of the obstacles of the orphanages and orphans in Uganda. Yeah, we were able to get this water tap in last April, and yeah, I'm glad we did that. There's more. Even before that, we were able to get a few good fundraisers finished before that. There's still actually one I know that has been shared a couple of times recently by Kasengo and myself on Facebook. I'll be sure to reshare it too on Raised Up Donors and Friends in the group. That is for helping to stop malaria at the reality orphanage, which I forget the amount for that. It was like, I think $1,800 or more. The amount is on the GoFundMe, but yeah, it's quite a bit of money that we need. And so that's why we're doing this, these fundraisers. I'll also be putting together more fundraiser events in the Seattle area too. I'll be sure to share on the Facebook group and Raised Up and share in other places. But yeah, they actually were having a malaria problem. I think they still are at the Reality Orphanage with some children getting malaria this year with mosquito bites. And one of the ways that can be helped is that project is to raise enough money for them to buy mosquito netting, bug netting. To
Yeah, it goes over the bed while they're sleeping.
Yeah. I think it's mostly that they put it over their windows and doors.
Oh. Yeah, the ones I saw as far as mosquito netting was like it goes around the bed and surrounds them, and there's a little opening where they can go out to use the bathroom or whatever, but it protects them from whatever may get in the window because it is very hot and stuff over there. So they do keep the windows open, and that just increases the likelihood of getting malaria or whatever else you might get from it.
I'll have to suggest that too. But yeah, the bug netting they had around the windows and doors was coming loose, and mosquitoes were getting in.
Oh man!
But they still don't have the money to just buy a bunch of mosquito netting and whatever little supplies they need to also put that up and keep the mosquitoes out to protect from malaria. Also, they were getting, what was it, cholera, polio,
diphtheria,
polio, and typhoid from the dirty river water they were drinking. And that's one reason that I did the clean water system fundraiser.
And that's awesome because they really needed it. Like you have to have water, whether you're cooking it or you're drinking it or whatnot. And when that went in, I was just like, yeah, Troy did it. I'm so excited that you had done that because like you said, like you don't know if this is a real thing or if it's shady. And it's like, since I started doing this with the Reality Orphanage, other people from Africa have been friending me and trying to get me to donate there too. And it makes me feel bad because I can barely afford to donate to Reality Orphanage. I try to do at least like 40 or so bucks a month, but sometimes it's just 20. Sometimes I can't do anything. It just depends.
Yeah. And same with me, a bunch of people, orphanage leaders and also refugee camp leaders. There's a refugee huge amount of refugees in Uganda right now because of, I guess, wars and stuff going on over there. Also from, I believe it's the Congo, they're coming in to Uganda.
Even from Russia. I don't know if you know, but people from Russia are going down there and they're killing a lot of people and they're taking over a lot of their assets, whatever they might have as far as like diamonds or whatnot. And taking children for their war. Like, it's insane. And I didn't realize, like,
know that.
Yeah, I didn't realize how close they were. I'm like, seriously? Like, how did Russians get down there? But it's really not that far apart. It's scary.
Yeah. Well, you can go anywhere in the world these days, but yeah, unfortunately. And then I wish I was able to do more for it, but I think there's still many survivors and relief needed for that one school that was attacked by apparently Al-Qaeda or ISIS group earlier this year. I think that was in the summer of this year.
It was terrible. Like, they killed a lot of people, whether it was like kids or adults or whatnot, and then they took over whoever else was left and raped and pillaged. Basically, they're like modern day pirates.
Well, I don't like talking about it, but yeah, what happened is
I shouldn't have said the R word.
I forget the name of the school or the town.
I know what you're talking about, though. I've seen it.
Yeah, what they did basically is these terrorists locked all the children and even teachers and adults in the classrooms and used mattresses to set them on fire and burn them. And that's something that I'm going to also create a fundraiser for. I know that
It's heartbreaking.
yeah, some people still need relief from that. Yeah, so it's more than just goodwill, actually, for this Raised Up nonprofit that I'm running. I need volunteers, as I said, to help me build it and raise more funds. So volunteers, there's actually a contact option on my website. I think it's the contact page, but people can message me, and then volunteers can get in touch, and we can figure out volunteer projects. Yeah, even if you start like GoFundMe profiles or do other fundraising events and projects, then that would be appreciated. But as I was saying, it's more than goodwill that we're doing this. It's also because of that terrorist attack in it's Western Uganda, I believe, near the border of the Congo. They came in from the Congo, as I recall. That we need to be doing this to support Uganda, because it's honestly a mess over there, and more than just support because they need it. I think on more of a spiritual level, one of the reasons that we all need to be participating in this and helping each other in this way is there's a lot of great unity consciousness that actually comes out of Africa. Even
Well,
though
that's
there's
where a lot of
good
us
amount of
originated.
corruption.
Like, I'm basically 99 point whatever percent Northern European, and that includes British, Irish, whatever. But a small part of me is African, Uganda and stuff like that, and that's where I originated. Like, went from a canoe, went up north,
Yeah.
and all this stuff happened. But I think we all originate from there. I think that is actually the Garden of Eden, is Africa, somewhere in there. But I think a lot of us
Well,
do originate from there.
yeah, there definitely is a lot of ancient human origins and stuff that comes out of Africa. And I think it's very important that everyone around the world and everyone who can donate. As I said, people who donate even $50 will get a 20% discount on my services, and then my healing services, and then $100 will get 50% off sessions. And yeah, we need to do this because it's important, I believe, to not let Africa to just become a neglected kind of slum of the world, essentially, or even terror spot of the world.
And I don't know if you saw that movie Blood Diamond, and that's what happens. Like, there's slavery still happening. There's people out there that are slaves, and they're, going through the mud and stuff and digging up diamonds. They're called blood diamonds, and that's where a lot of our diamonds come from. It's pretty insane.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I just saw that there are comments here.
I know, I keep hearing it. But yeah, Senegambian and Guinean is 3% of my DNA, but I'm very proud of it. And I have a cousin that is African American, and I've always pulled for her. I was her babysitter. But no, like, people are so mean to people of darker skin tones for some apparent reason. I don't understand it. But I think, like you were saying earlier, with Africa, like, that's the root. And we need to take care of it, because I think if that goes away, everything else is going to be demolished as well. So we need to support them and help them through this crisis they're going through.
Yeah, that's true. Another thing is Cryon, who's a what is it? He calls himself a magnetic master. anyway, a spiritual entity or consciousness is channeled for Earth by Lee Carroll. Cryon said once that in a prophecy for the planet, almost all of his prophecies have actually come true for Earth, that Africa is going to be a continental area, region of Earth, where some of the greatest technology and consciousness for the coming ascension years to prepare for the golden age will come out of. Because really, Africa, as we have known it in modern years, even the last couple of centuries, has been pretty widely neglected and abused too. And there's been so much that's come out of the more developed, if you want to call them developed, countries, such as especially the US, Russia, and China, even India, and other more technologically advanced and wealthy parts of the world. But Africa actually has been like, some areas have been used as like a garbage dump for computer parts and other
Really?
technologies. And yeah,
That's insane.
yeah,
I know
I've heard that.
from different things that I've investigated, I believe Atlantis was in Africa. And there's a little swirl there that you could tell there was a wall around it. The ocean was there. Like, it was Atlantis. And also, I don't know if you know, but there's a swamp there. And it's like bigger than America, basically. And they talk about different dinosaurs and stuff still living in there. Nobody wants to go there. Everybody wants to go on the safari and all these other places, but this swamp is pretty intriguing. Like, the original documentation of like origin of life on Earth is still living there. It's pretty intense.
Yeah, that is very actually interesting and important that you bring that up with like dinosaurs and ancient creatures in Africa, because who is it? Maybe some of the viewers would know. I want to say it's not Graham Hancock, another researcher, kind of forbidden researcher that I have heard of. He was on Coast to Coast a long time ago, and he was talking about the Mokele Mbembe that I guess is supposedly alive in the Congo. It's like a giant plesiosaur-looking creature, I guess.
Yeah, kind of like the long neck.
A giant beast. But him and his researchers who've gone to this village near where it's supposed to be. Hold on, my dog is trying to get down. Have shown the villagers pictures of different creatures from around the world for them to try to figure out what this thing is that is deep within the Congo that is elusive to them, but only it's usually sighted by one person at a time. And
they know the names of them. They're like, oh yeah, that's this. And like when you compute it as far as like our language, it's the same thing we knew of dinosaurs, like the long neck. Even crocodiles, like they're only supposed to get like 20 feet long, but these are like 60 feet long. So many prehistoric things living there. It's amazing.
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, these are some of the reasons why we need to take care of Africa. Starting with Uganda. It's kind of a small thing so far that I've been able to do relative to the rest of the world, but
to me it's huge. I think to them it's huge too.
Yeah, it is huge. And it kind of goes back to a story that I heard of. I've actually heard it from a couple of sources, but it's called The Starfish Thrower. And the story tells of a young boy who went out to a beach and found hundreds of starfish stranded on the beach under the hot sun drying out. And the tide had gone out, so he started picking them up one by one and throwing each of them back into the sea. And then an old man came by and asked what he was doing, and the boy told him that he was saving starfish by throwing them back into the sea. And then the old man said that he can't save all of them. There's too many. And then the boy picked up one more starfish, threw it back into the sea, and said, "But I saved that one." And so even if, I think that this is important for everyone too, who can, if you want to call it, elevate themselves to this level of like goodwill and giving and doing something for someone else, even if it's just a random act of kindness for someone. I think it's important to find your starfish of something you can give to someone else to really help them in life, save a life, even one. If everyone could save one life, then this world would be so much more beautiful.
Definitely.
But unfortunately, there's a bigger war industry than there is a life-saving and altruism industry on this planet. So
I know, and people are complaining because Joe Biden keeps donating billions and billions and billions of dollars. You know what the alternative is? We can go over there and we can be in war. And so I kind of agree with him. Like, instead of sending our people over there to fight this war, he's sending money or weapons or whatnot. Instead of sending our brothers and sisters in arms, because that would not be good. We don't need to have another, like, World War I or II or, what is the other one? I'm sorry. I'm drawing a blank right now. I'm so bad with names and things, but, oh my goodness. It's like right there. I keep trying to say it. Vietnam. So many people died for no apparent reason. We didn't even need to be there, but it's about getting things like titanium, etc., etc. Like, that's why we were over there. We didn't really care about the people, like, even though we could personally care about these people, the government was worried about, hey, let's get titanium and all this other stuff. And I didn't know this until I went to the military, but they made us watch different videos, and I saw this one where these soldiers were not equipped, and they had to go up in the mountains, and they were freezing their feet off and dying because it was so freaking cold up there, and it was all because they wanted titanium. It's like, really? You know, it could be because we're trying to help these people, but no, it's about what can we get monetarily as far as, you know, effects and different things in the ground we don't have. So sad.
Yeah. Yeah, it is unfortunate that that has happened. One thing about World War III I want to mention that I strongly believe, and
do you think we're gonna go there? Because like, I've had dreams about that. The bear, the dragon, and the eagle. We're going to go to war. We don't want to, but I think it's going to happen. Do you think it's going to happen?
Yeah, no. You may have had those dreams, and that may have been a very real and strong potential when you had them. But one thing about the future is that you can't predict it 100%.
Well, you just said World War III.
Yeah, so, you can't predict World War III, and I don't believe that it's going to happen. But
okay, good.
One thing about like that dream in particular, if you have a precognitive dream, is that we all have free will, and we can choose to do something to shift an outcome that we foresee, and even try to make something different. And yeah, humans are capable of great things. About World War III, though, I don't believe that's going to happen. I feel within myself a strong knowing, I believe from my Star Family teachings and just what I came here for is that I didn't incarnate as a walk-in to live through World War III and a big nuclear destruction of this planet. That's not going to happen, and the reason that it hasn't yet, even though it could have been very probable, in
Could
recent
still be
years
like Putin keeps
is
threatening it.
is
He's
that
like,
it's
I'm
not.
going to send a nuclear weapon, and then him and North Korea are getting together, and all these different things are happening, trying to make it happen because we're trying to protect Ukraine. Ukraine is its own country. They, ciphered themselves from Russia before.
Yeah.
I know. It's so
But
scary. But I
how
love
many
that you
years
say no.
now? I have to ask, how many years now have Vladimir Putin and even Donald Trump and then Kim Jong Un been kind of throwing these tantrums and making
hmm
these claims of starting a nuclear war, even though they have nuclear weapons? But they're really just little children, the way I see it,
Right?
little toddlers having
Throwing a fit.
tantrums. And yeah, because they're angry and because they're upset and because they're messed up people, they are just saying this stuff that is not actually going to happen because it's not in alignment with the true life and existence and unity and destiny of and ascension of this planet that we've all chosen.
Mhm.
And one thing too I want to say about someone, especially Vladimir Putin, is that I've been intuitively sensing that he might have something like cancer or a terminal illness. Just
How
my
could he
intuitive take.
not? There's so much
I
nuclear
don't.
stuff over there
Yeah,
that,
I don't have.
yeah, I
I don't
think
want
he's
to.
off kilter.
Yeah, I don't want to make a big claim from bias or anything. I try to be a very unbiased person, but
That's good.
yeah, I just intuitively sense that he probably has some sort of terminal illness, probably cancer, and he knows that, and that's why he's just acting out these
Well,
days
even his
before he
own
dies.
country, so he sent these guys into war, and it's like, this is to protect us because Ukraine is doing this. And it's just like back in Nazi days when they're putting that propaganda out there and all this other stuff. He's blocking them from seeing certain things. He's only feeding them what he wants. And it's all because Ukraine was going to join NATO. And he's like, oh, hell no, you ain't. So he decided to go in and declare war. And it's been, like this off and on, like people coming in, people going out. And these people realize, like, these are our cousins. These are our brothers. And we're killing them. And the guy that was the main figurehead against that got killed in an airplane accident with other people that were in his regiment. But it's been pretty intense.
Yeah. So, by the way, I messaged in the group chat
Saw
about
that.
$50 donations to Raised Up get 20% off a Reiki healing session, and $100 will get 50% off. Oh, message the codes too.
Oh yeah, put that up there and I'll share that too. Yeah.
That's Raised Up 20 and then Raised Up 50 is the other one. Those are the codes for listeners tonight, and who donate will be able to use those codes to.
So 20 is for like
to get
$50, and if they do 100, it's 50. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So, what's this one? Raised Up 20. That's if you donate $50. If you donate $100, it's Raised Up 50. So, go big, go home. Anywho's, we do have to go to our second music break. I hate to go because, we're talking about so many amazing things. But on this break, we once again have Mr. Hosni Bronx with Dance as a Lion, Free Child. I think Dance as a Lion we did last break, so. We have Free Child, as well as King Cinnamon, who is from Biafra, Nigeria. He's trying to get out there, and I love his music. He's so talented. And he's going to be singing Fantastic, as well as Rosie. You guys don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this music break. It's about 15 minutes.
We stop on the beat.
She like my water bam bam. King cinnamon. Oh shit, baddest. Take your bam bam anywhere you day. Know your bam bam, it is a Friday. Come on, let's go, it is a holiday. Anything you want, baby, I will pay. Take your bam bam anywhere you day. Know your bam bam, it is a Friday. Come on, let's go, it is a holiday. Anything you want, baby, I will pay. Fantastic. Baby girl, you romantic. Fantastic. Baby girl, you romantic. Gucci brother, baby, gather something. Come on closer, baby, gather 19. I know you better, but I am the king. Your backside bigger than Bombay. Baby girl, broncotum. I like the way you want your broncotum. Baby girl, broncotum. I like the way you want your broncotum. Jamaica, Ghana. Shout out to the ladies in Asia, Nigeria, South Africa. Say me love you. Please me, baby. Yeah. Turn up from you. Take your bam bam anywhere you day. Know your bam bam, it is a Friday. Come on, let's go, it is a holiday. Anything you want, baby, I will pay. Take your bam bam anywhere you day. Know your bam bam, it is a Friday. Come on, let's go, it is a holiday. Anything you want, baby, I will pay. Fantastic. Baby girl, you romantic. Give me love. Me want you, me love you. Give me love. Oh, give me love. Hey, please me, baby. Oh. Yeah, turn up from you. Yeah, take your bam bam anywhere you day. Know your bam bam, it is a Friday. Come on, let's go, it is a holiday. Anything you want, baby, I will pay. Shake your bam bam anywhere you day. Know your bam bam, it is a Friday. Come on, let's go, it is a holiday. Anything you want, baby, I will pay. Fantastic. Baby girl, you romantic. Fantastic. Baby girl, you romantic.
We stop on the mix. Lift it all. Funky on the beat.
Suck my boobs, you got my body loose. Anytime you talk me, you got me confused. Suck my boobs, you got my body loose. Anytime you talk me, you got me confused. Cinnamon, cinnamon, do it softly. I said you wine your body, eat the sweetie, sweetie. Make it rock my body, I am feeling horny. Make it touch my body, I am feeling sweetie. Suck my boobs, you got my body loose. Anytime you talk me, you got me confused. Suck my boobs, you got my body loose. Anytime you talk me, you got me confused. All my men, they wear out. All my guys, they wear out. Imarama, Imarama, Rosie. Imarama, Imarama, Rosie. All my men, they wear out. All my guys, they wear out. Imarama, Imarama, Rosie. Imarama, Imarama, Rosie. Muko mukeji, go bere muketa. Oya muko mukeji, oya bere muketa. Daddy mu ekon, omo ni pe mukeji. Daddy bere muketa, omo ni fún mi lẹ́yìn. Daddy fisi fisi, omo ni ẹjọ. Daddy saucy saucy, omo ni ẹjọ. Daddy kosi kosi, omo ni ẹjọ. Daddy tohin kosi, omo ni ẹjọ. Daddy and his baby, them dey for corner. Daddy begin the touch and the girl dey holla. Now daddy begin the open the shirt collar. Now something come out. Daddy begin the suck am. Daddy mu ekon, omo ni pe mukeji. Daddy bere muketa, omo ni fún mi lẹ́yìn. Daddy fisi fisi, omo ni ẹjọ. Daddy saucy saucy, omo ni ẹjọ ẹjọ. All my men they gbero, all my guys they gbero. Imarama, Imarama, Rosie. Imarama, Imarama, Rosie. All my men they gbero, all my guys they gbero. Imarama, Imarama, Rosie. Imarama, Imarama, Rosie. Suck my boobs, you got my body loose. Anytime you touch me, you got me confused. Suck my boobs, you got my body loose. Anytime you talk me, you got me confused. Cinnamon, cinnamon, do it softly. I said you wine your body, eat the sweetie, sweetie. Make it rock my body, I am feeling horny. Make it touch my body, I am feeling sweetie. Suck my boobs, you got my body loose. Anytime you talk me, you got me confused. Suck my boobs, you got my body loose. Anytime you talk me, you got me confused. Kissy, kissy, amani, ejo, daddy saucy, saucy, amani, ejo, daddy kosi, kosi, amani, ejo, daddy kahe kosi, amani, ejo, daddy contact, amani, ejo, daddy comfort, daddy consist, amani, ejo, daddy can eat, daddy 120, amani, ejo, daddy 18, daddy 240, amani, ejo, daddy 360, daddy and the baby, them day for corner, daddy begin the touch and the girl the holla, daddy begin the open the shirt collar, I come to come, daddy begin the sucker, daddy move, echo, amani pe mukeji, daddy bere muketa, amani fún mi lẹ́yìn, daddy fisi fisi, amani ẹjọ, daddy saucy saucy, amani ẹjọ ẹjọ. All my men they gbero, all my guys they gbero. Imarama, 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 Imarama.
Oh yeah, it's funky on the beat.
Welcome back, and thank you so much for joining us this evening on We Are Paradox Media's Late Night Miraculous. It's actually been a pretty amazing journey, and we've learned a lot of things. But I can't wait to learn more from Mr. Troy Bacon.
Okay, I'm back testing. So we've been talking about my Reiki and energy healing services, and then a lot about Raised Up, my nonprofit, to support the many orphanages and orphans in Uganda. I'm able to share a link in the chat, or I could send you.
Yeah, and if you do, share it in the chat. I can put it up on the screen so people can take advantage of it.
Here, Tessa, I'll send you a link. I've been trying to share it myself in the chat, but it's not going through.
Oh man, it's not going through.
I might not be allowed to. Yeah, I might not be allowed to share links from here.
Yeah, I just saw it come through.
You can share that. It's the specific Raised Up page with our ongoing projects.
Okay.
And there's two main projects I have posted right now. You can also add a note if you want to donate to another one of the projects, but just for general food security at the Reality Orphanage, or medical supplies and expenses. The two donation options I have right now are to a nuts surgery and to get new bunk beds for the Reality Orphanage. So again, the amount for the new bunk beds is $4,444. I didn't choose that amount, but it was actually the calculated amount that Kasango sent me to US dollars for what they need for the bunk beds, as well as more mosquito netting is included in that price. And so then a nuts surgery is $1,700 total. One thing about that is that the surgeons can start her operation with just $600 being raised. But something unfortunate about the African hospitals is that they don't normally release patients unless 100% of their dues and hospital bills have been paid for. It's kind of an unfortunate system over there, but yeah, she needs that to get her upper lip tumor removed so it's not continually causing increasing pain every day. And the bunk beds are needed there because then with enough beds for each of the 40 children at the Reality Orphanage and clean sheets, then they'll be able to stop spreading so much of the contagious diseases with each other from having to share old sleeping pads and foam pads and the floor too. So that's important over there.
Very.
If we can get those projects fulfilled, then that would be amazing. And then that can go in Raised Up's project portfolio. There's another tab online on the website, raisedup.ngo, just for the project portfolios. I needed to actually add some more recent funders to that, but yeah, so that's a bit about Raised Up too. Another thing is I need to actually update some of the details. I started an online store. I just have 2 items listed right now. It's the first 2, but I'm listing some of my wire-wrapped gemstone pendants, and I think I'll also
You're
list
actually
some
like
bracelets
doing
I made.
jewelry?
Yeah, I've been making wire-wrapped jewelry for quite a while now, and I charged the certainly first 2 pieces I listed and other pieces too with Reiki, and so they're ready for their next people, and 65% of the proceeds from those sales will go to helping these fundraisers too. If anyone wants to, they can leave a note or send me an email about which projects they want their funds to go to. But yeah, there's one that is a $35 self-healed quartz pendant. It's actually kind of a larger.
I'm kind of intrigued
like
because I'm
3.5
like,
long.
I know your energy, and when you're making things, your energy goes into it. So I
Yeah.
might buy one.
Okay. Yeah, I'll lift some more soon. But yeah, one is a self-healed quartz pendant with copper wire wrapping, and then the other I've listed right now is a kind of large piece of white coral, collected from a beach, not directly from the ocean, with a double copper spiral on it. I just started making those double spirals recently, and that's kind of a unique wrapping too. That's
It's
the
crazy
white coral
because
is
I don't know if you know, like
$30.
certain currents in the ocean have ended, and the coral has been dying for a long time due to global warming. And
Yeah.
they actually said it's dead, like it's no longer happening. And current, how do you stop a current? This current is no longer going To me, it's pretty insane what's going on the earth today.
How do you stop a current?
Yeah, how do you do that? Like, you could put something really big in the ocean or something, but it's like it's not flowing anymore. It's not doing what it's supposed to do. So that's going to mess up the whole thing as far as the ocean goes, which is like 96% of our livelihood. I don't know. To me, it's very scary. And then we have all these tornadoes and hurricanes and everything else going on, and it's pretty scary.
Yeah. Yeah, it is unfortunate what we've done to the oceans, but I do know that there are a good number of people and operations to help the oceans. Like one company I appreciate is 4Ocean that makes recycled plastic bracelets and
Yeah, they have a
products
net out to
help the
capture.
ocean. Yeah, and they have teams every day actively going out to remove more and more like tons of plastic from the ocean, tons every year anyway. And yeah, 4Ocean is awesome. Then there's the Ocean Cleanup that I've actually donated to, and other just smaller Facebook fundraisers in the past. The Ocean Cleanup has created some very unique plastic removal systems.
And it's insane because
Yeah,
I
they
was
have a
talking to
YouTube
my kids
channel
about
too.
this today. I'm like, okay, so you pay for this trash can, which you put your plastic and other things into to go and get recycled. And I keep getting this thing on my YouTube where it's telling me most stuff doesn't get recycled. They just throw it in the dumpster. Why? Or the trash site. Why? I'm recycling it. Why isn't it not
Yeah.
getting recycled? It's because I think they only have so much funding, so the rest of it just goes in the dumps. But that's ridiculous. You pay for that
Well-
service. You're trying to do good for the world, and then it's just, I guess we'll just
I
throw
don't
it
think
in
it's a
the heap.
funding issue. There's two things that I understand is that the recycling industry was actually set up as a major business
Mhm.
to to make money off of the needs or what has been needed. I see a future of humanity on this earth without a need for plastic for food and other things, but
Yeah, that's why I was telling the kids,
yeah,
like, if they're
to
not
make-
recycling plastic, how about we just go to glass or something else?
yeah, or
Glass or paper.
bioplastics, I think, are the future,
Mhm.
like the future of all plastics. Yeah, the recycling industry is really a scam these days, I think, because
It is.
most of the stuff you dump in a recycling dumpster bin does not get recycled. I think it's at least 96% does not get recycled.
And it's
not
like,
just
why
for
are people
funding,
paying for that?
but-
Like, I don't pay for
well,
it. I take my stuff
they-
to, like, the rec yard is what I call it. So I save my cans, I take
Yeah.
those, take my plastic, whatever. And then it's like, we'll recycle some of it, but not all of it. But why? Because people are cleaning it. People are going through all these very meticulous activities to get rid of it. So it does get recycled, and they're paying for this. They're paying for it. Like, whatever. I don't know.
honestly,
To me,
I think part of it is, like you said, because a lot of people are sloppy and don't clean their recyclables. Because a recycling handler is not going to clean recyclables, and if they're
yeah, like
dirty
take the
with
labels
food
off or
other
rinse it
debris,
out.
well, I don't know. I don't actually understand it, but they have ways of handling the labels and tape. But it's the cleanliness of it that if it's dirty, then it's just going to go to the landfill
Mhm.
instantly. They don't sort that and clean it. They don't have cleaners for your recyclable products. But another part of it is because there's just too much trash and recycling and waste that is created every single day. Too many tons every single day all around the world, even in America alone.
Yeah.
For the recycling industry in any given country to keep up with just the sheer volume of material that
Are you still there? You were talking, then you stopped. I just turned my light down. Man, you're frozen. What happened? Are you still there, Troy? Birth to Troy. Megatroid. Troy. Where'd you go? Mr. Bacon. Okay, so I saw this video on TikTok. Speaking of bacon, where they sliced a tree and it was like, lined up, and they're like, if you see bacon, we can be friends. And I'm like, I totally saw bacon, like very huge pieces of bacon. And I'm like, that was very yumlicious. Man, where'd Troy go? Oh no. Hope his phone didn't die or something. I don't know, but you guys, right now in this world, finally our government is talking about alien intervention, UFOs, things like that. Were they coming from another place or were they here originally? I don't know. To me, it's pretty intriguing, especially like a lot of people that are reporters and such. Even Duhas Mesh. Rammstein was on stage and he's singing. And he's looking into the camera or looking at people. His eyes look normal, then all of a sudden they turn into lizard eyes? What the fuck is happening? I don't know. Our world is just going batshit crazy. I hope Troy comes back. We have T-minus 30 minutes and counting. What do you guys think? Do you think the aliens have been here all along? Are they coming in and visiting? A lot of them go into the ocean. A lot of them come out of mountains. What are your thoughts? Leave it in a comment below if you could. Oh yeah, and if you want to join, let me send this invite since Troy is gone. I'm going to put this invite into the chat room. So if my tiniest little squish, anybody else wants to join, could you please call me? Because I don't like to be alone. Could you please call me? Call me anytime. I want to hear your experiences, what you've gone through. Oh yeah, where the crack did Troy go? Nope, hasn't come through on chat either. Damn, and we have like 30 minutes, T-minus 30 minutes and counting. Alright, so, pretty sure you guys heard earlier, but I've been having dreams, and I generally do. For a long time I didn't, and I think it was due to the tinnitus in my ears. But yeah, when I was pregnant with Kinsey, I had dreams about World War III, and it was redonkulous. And now I'm having more dreams like that. Like I said, there's people, like, I saw these white dots in the sky. Then as I look closer, as they got closer, it was parachutes. And there was people coming down to kill us. And so I took my child, and so I don't know if it's my child. Probably Nova. Nova's like 18, 19 years old now. She's 19. She was little baby reference. And I'm like, come on, let's go. And I took her in and I hid her with me somewhere. And they're walking around trying to find us to kill us. I don't know about you guys. Like Troy said, he doesn't believe that World War III is going to happen. I think it is. with Russia and Ukraine doing their shit. And then what just happened recently in Canada with the Indians. No longer are Canadians allowed in the country. And so Canada is pulling their people out of there. India is one of the most peaceful places in the freaking world. We're really going to pull people out of there? To me, that's insane. And Trump. He's coming up and he's always been brutally honest. Brutally honest. I'm Donald Trump. I'm going to brutally share these things with you. He's going through all kinds of lawsuits right now, right? But what about the world around us? You know? So, January 6th happened. All these people went crazy. And everybody's reporting he didn't do anything. That's what he did. You know, I delve into so many different chapters of our news realm, and I saw DJ Trump. He actually went in and he said, have a peaceful protest. Like, let's be cool. Let's not do this. And then they just went bonkers and went into the White House, went into different regiments and fucked a lot of people up. And when DJ Trump became president, he talked to Obama. And Obama's like, yep, guess what? You're gonna go to war. This and this and that and that. And he's like, well, no, I ain't gonna do that. Ain't gonna happen. He didn't. And I feel like even though Biden didn't vote for Trump, I didn't vote for Biden, I didn't vote for any of those motherfuckers. But Biden, I think, is spending all this money so we don't have to go over there. And there's a lot of people that are like, I'm retired military, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to go over there and help them. Hey, kudos to you. Like, I'm so glad you're doing that. But at the same time, seriously. And some people have gotten killed. Some people haven't. I don't know. It's insane. And now Russia is talking to North Korea and getting weapons from them because they're like, hey, look, I have all these different missiles and stuff. They were like bombarding Ukraine. Bam, 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 bam. I think about 90% of the stuff they took down. The other 10% got through. It's insane. Why are we here? And I think it's because Ukraine was going to join NATO, and Russia's like, honey boo child, you better not. And then like, yeah, I'm going to. And then now here we are. Billions and billions and billions of dollars in deficit. Yay, Troy is back. Welcome back, Troy.
Hi. Yeah, I'm back. I just had a Wi-Fi glitch, I guess.
Oh, yeah, I thought your
I'm
phone
back
died or
now.
something.
Oh.
Oh, okay, you're back.
Yeah. Where was I?
Right
We're
there.
talking about Raised Up and charity. Oh, we were talking about the oceans too.
Mm-hmm.
What I wanted to talk about though for a bit is walk-ins again, as well as the Starseed adjustment and activation Rainbow Reiki that I offer. That's a
Okay, so
specific,
you wanted me to post that, so I made a banner, and then you're like, you need to post this Rainbow Reiki. So can you tell us a bit about that? Because I'm like,
yeah.
it must be very important.
Yeah. So the Reiki I do is just Rainbow Reiki. I've always worked with rainbow color frequencies for many lifetimes on this planet, probably others, and other planets too. And that's just, it's been part of my Reiki since day one, really, or energy work too, before I learned Reiki. And so what I do Rainbow Reiki. I use the Mikao Usui Rainbow or Reiki tradition that I've been trained in, and I understand that. But as I'm working with someone with the regular Mikao Usui traditional style, then I also sense what they need, and often other color frequencies or even spiritual beings, guides, and angels and ancestors, and or even other various healing energies and beings will come through, and I channel those energies for them. So that's what I can do in person. I'm in the Seattle area, but I'll move next year. Also do it by distance. Distance is just as effective, I've found. I actually learned Reiki by distance, and that's just amazing what can be done there, because we are all connected through the quantum realm, and I think of it as the quantum ocean that we live in, but also the spirit world. There's no time in the spirit world, no space separating anyone from, so we can connect
just
that way.
Compacted. To me, it's insane because my mother was killed by a drunk driver. My sister saw this guy like chopping meat. It's a bloody ordeal. Then all of a sudden she sees my mom wearing the dress that she told her dad that she wanted to wear to her funeral. Sitting there and talking to her and telling her what she needs to do. And to me, that's intense because people don't believe in that. People don't believe we come back. People are like, you either go to heaven or you go to hell. And the only spirits that are here are fallen angels. No, I don't believe that's true.
Yeah, after I leave this body, I want to be able to come back, certainly leave in my will too, but make sure that people have set up a very colorful celebratory funeral for me to celebrate my accomplishments, as well as ascending to another higher
Have you
realm,
written a will?
where I'll end up. What did you ask?
Have you written a will? Because when I take my kids to the hospital, do you have a living will or this and this and that? And then I'm always like, no, but I probably should.
Well, yeah, it'll probably be more essential later on in my life, but yeah.
I know, but you never know when you're going to go. It's just like, okay, so Chrissy, my niece, she was murdered by her husband. Just the week before that, she's like, hey, we really need to go and get this done because she made me godmother. And she's like, we need to do this paperwork, etc., etc. I'm like, hey, you have a full life to live. Why are we worried about this right now? Guess what? He took her out, did bad things to her body, and it was not cool. And then my husband went against me and didn't allow me to have the kids. I'm like, do you know what godmother means? That means if she dies or something happens to her, I take these kids on. He didn't accept it. He's like, nope. And I'm kind of grateful because that could have messed up my kids a bit because we did have them over in Silvino Jr. So Silvino Sr. was the one that did it in the first place. Silvino Jr. saw this happen. And then he choked out my kid, and so I could see some things that we could have gone through, but at the same time, Chrissy admired how I raised my kids. So she wanted me to raise her kids too, but everybody, even my husband, went against me.
Yeah. Horrible things can happen in life, but Reiki, I've found, really goes into the mind, body, spirit, and subconscious. It's an energy that finds its own way through you, what it needs to heal, what it finds you can't let it Reiki. It just goes into you and on all levels. That's what I love about it, is that it's not just verbal talking like hypnotism to the subconscious,
Insane.
but it really brings out the healing that you are ready for. And that's why it's also great for energetic and spiritual activation to your life's purpose, to help activate that. So I offer Rainbow Reiki, and then I also offer what I call Star ST.
So is it called Rainbow because it covers every spectrum, or why? Why is it called Rainbow?
Well, yeah, because I channel different color frequencies depending on what energies someone needs to adjust and heal their energy.
Okay.
Normal Reiki works on the violet energy spectrum, primarily. Violet then can adjust to any other color of Reiki, but even within the Mikao Usui tradition, back in the days, like in the early 1900s, especially when he and his disciples were really delineating and formalizing Reiki as we know it today, they were experimenting a lot with different types of energy and different types of practices. Some of it is the use of symbols and Reiki symbols, and some of it is just, I use often clear light energy that then can refract a person's energy into the color that they need for healing, or adjust and bring through the color that they need, and also to bring in clarity. But clear light actually is not a common type of light that I've heard people work with for healing. I learned it from the Arcturian Anthology, which is a book written by Tom Kenyon, a channeled book, and apparently the Arcturians say that they taught the Tibetans the system of clear light healing, or the technique of that. Interestingly,
That to
Reiki,
me is
I think
amazing
that's
because they
appropriate,
get to a
actually.
point like they meditate so long that they're dead. And guess what? You know that guy that's like doing this and being a Buddha, or sometimes they wave their arms? That's a freaking person inside of this sarcophagus. And people didn't realize it forever until they 3D imprinted it. They're like, holy shnikes, there's actually a human being inside of that statue. It's pretty intense.
Yeah, but what's interesting about the clear light is that if that was taught to the Tibetans, which it seems that might be sort of a less talked about type of energy that some Tibetan healing uses. Reiki, I've read, is also a Japanese pronunciation of a Tibetan name called Raku-kei, which apparently Mikao Usui was exploring a lot of the ancient Asian energy healing systems when he was formalizing Reiki. And a lot of, or some of Reiki was kind of inspired or incorporates pieces and elements of like Tibetan healing, and also other Sanskrit area healings, which is not just in India, but also Tibet and the Himalaya area, but also Japan too.
Very pure and beautiful. I love that area, and I love the energy.
And so what's interesting is that that Reiki does apparently have that connection to Raku-kei as a healing art, channeling.
Did you hear about the Dalai Lama?
The universe.
Like, to me, the Dalai Lama has been represented repeatedly. Past lives coming into a new one. Did you see where he was not only messing with Lady Gaga, but trying to French kiss a kid? Like, to me, it's like, okay, so has he gotten to an age where he's senile or he's got dementia or something is happening? Because this is what the Dalai Lama would not ever do. But he's just like, oh, give me a kiss. And then he's like, and it was really weird because I'm like, no, that's not what the Dalai Lama does. But he did. And people are just like, I believe in Hinduism. I believe in being a monk. I believe all that shit is super cool. But when he did that, I was like, what the crack? Even with like I said, Lady Gaga, he's like reaching for her leg and doing this stuff. I know we all have temptations. And maybe that's what it was, or maybe it was all in fun. But you're trying to stick your tongue into a kid's mouth. That to me was just weird. Because, yes, you can kiss, and that's something different, but you're like, stick your tongue in my mouth. That's completely different. And it makes me wonder, like, did the Dalai Lama get so old that he's going senile or something weird is happening? I don't know. I've always believed in Buddhism, and I don't know, I have very much faith in that. I love every religion. I think everyone has some note to give for our soul to get to the other side. But when that happened, I was just like, but to be human is to err. So what do you think about that?
I honestly was not aware of all that happening. If that did, I'll look into some of that. Interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
but
gross.
what I want to say about Reiki and my rainbow Reiki is that, yeah, it works with like the rainbow color spectrum, but
Mhm.
Even the rainbow color spectrum is only a really tiny, tiny portion of the vast spectrum of energies, frequencies that exist. Even infrared is just like at the red and below spectrum that we don't see with our naked eyes. And then there's the ultraviolet that is just beyond violet even.
Mhm.
And then there's just this huge expansive range of all the other energies above and below
And I
that
think,
and
like,
outside of
as
that.
we grow, we
And
see different of these variations. Like, for me, I saw people, I saw their auras, and then after my uncle died, he was killed by fentanyl, who's overdosed. I saw my sister, and I saw him behind her. Not only did I see that, I saw the auras on the trees and the plants and stuff. Like, that blew my mind. I was just like, I always knew they were a living entity, but once I saw that, it just really blew me away.
yeah, so anyway, yeah, there's this rainbow energy spectrum. And so by using that, the energy spectrum that most of us see and even hear in, because the rainbow, I mean, even colors can be translated to sounds and vice versa. That's part of the rainbow Reiki I use, but also my star Reiki is Starseed Adjustment and Activation Rainbow Reiki. That's on my website, newbeinghypnosis.com. That's especially for starseed and walk-in types, in which, along with just rainbow Reiki, I also channel interstellar and cosmic energy frequencies from other planets and star systems, especially as they need it, depending on where they come from and what comes through. And so that's awesome. Just recently I created a logo for that I was guided to. One thing that's part of my awakening that I'm doing now is light language, geometry, and symbols. At least seeing and channeling them. I haven't quite figured out the digital art aspect in that way, but anyway, yeah, I created this beautiful logo that's like, to me it looks like a flower, actually, kind of like a rose. It's a triangle instead of a pentagon, instead of a heptagon, which is a 7-sided shape, instead of a nonagon, which is a 9-sided shape. And that geometry was given to me.
Nonagon. I've
from-
never heard
yeah.
of that. That's cool.
Yeah, or an enneagon is apparently what it's also called, 9-sided shape. And that was given to me by my Syrian star family. Syrians, like the numbers 3, 5, 7, and 9. That's just interesting numerology.
Mm-hmm.
They're all odd and prime numbers.
6, 7, 5, 3, 0,
So-
9.
Anyway, yeah, that's my my Rainbow Reiki practice and star seed adjustment and activation Rainbow Reiki practice. I can do that by distance anywhere in the world. It'd be neat if I could even do that to like astronauts on the moon if they established that connection or sessions, or even in space.
And that's
I'm sure that
another
would work,
thing,
but-
now that you mention it. America. Come on. Really? So,
What now?
our very first astronaut landing was fake. It was on a place where we're not on the moon, we're actually on a stage when we're recording this. The only reason we did that is because we had to beat Russia and all these other people. I do believe we did go to the moon eventually, but first one was faked.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure. I've seen some evidence, but yeah, I don't have a solid opinion on that.
Yeah, there
But
was even a
definitely
rock that
go to
had
the
a C
moon.
on it.
Mom, it's an emergency.
What's up? Hold on.
Zoe's bleeding above her eye.
Did she get in a fight?
I don't know.
Did you let her out the front door?
She just came over and started waddling in front of us. And Floyd said that there was blood over her left eye.
Ew. Go ahead and let her out, and I'll check her out when she comes back in, okay?
Okay, got it.
Love you, girl.
Let me do-
Sorry.
That's okay. One of the reasons that there's not much of a push to go to the moon anymore is because the moon is a neutral territory.
Did you
And
know the moon
someone
is
who-
drifting away from us?
Yeah, it does have this kind of like brackets of like how close and how far it gets. For many years now, it's been in the supermoon
Awesome.
phase close to Earth, but yeah, it fluctuates a little bit, just a little bit.
Yeah, they're saying
Um,
it just keeps drifting further
anyway,
and
the
further and
moon-
further away, and that's going to make our days longer.
Okay. The moon, though, is a neutral territory,
Mhm.
and so that's why we're not allowed to treat it as property based on who goes there first or whoever claims a particular part of it or who tries to use it for a competition because it's a neutral property, very similar to how Antarctica is considered a neutral area for scientific
Right.
collaboration. But Antarctica, when you look at it on a map,
I hate to cut you
Um,
off, but I have to
is-
really quick
is
for the speaker. So thank you to everyone for listening to us tonight, me and Troy Bacon. It's been an amazing evening. Thank you to all of our friends on We Are Paradox Media's Facebook, KPNL Radio, Twitter, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, and wherever else beyond the omniverse you've been listening tonight. I'm so grateful that you tuned in and that you're here. Had a wonderful time, and I can't wait to do it again next weekend. We actually have the Paradox Paranormal Forum. Otherwise, it's story time with me, Tessa TNT. Until next time, nighty-night, love and light. I hope you guys take care of your youths, lift each other up, raise each other out, like, do everything you can to help each other. We're going to get through this, and it's very important.
thank you, Tessa.
Yes, and we are on a different spectrum. I just had to do the outro for this show. But yeah, continue with what you're saying. I'm sorry I had to interrupt, but I had to do the outro for the Spreaker thing.
That's okay. I just wanted to mention that the moon is a neutral territory, and we're not allowed to treat it as a property to just claim as we have our countries, because it's very similar to Antarctica, is split into all these wedges and sections
Mm-hmm.
for different kind of countries to kind of call a territory, but also as a neutral scientific collaboration.
Right.
The moon is the same, and the backside of the moon is actually pretty much split up the same way, but not by countries. It's split up for different alien races and their bases there, but it's one place that is never allowed to